Alright, this lesson is on forming questions in Spanish. So first of all, remember that questions always begin with an upside down question mark and always end with a normal question mark. Don't forget that you gotta have upside down question mark and then end with the normal question mark. Also, don't forget that question words always have an accent on them. So there are three ways to ask a question in Spanish. First of all, you can invert the order of the subject and the verb. So instead of saying I eat, you could say do I eat or eat I. Number two would be you make a statement and then you say no or verdad on the end, which would be no or really to the end. So you could say you like to eat Doritos, right? Or you like to eat Doritos, no? Or the third reason would be to use a question word such as who, what, when, where, why, to whom, whose, how many, etc. So one example of inverting the order of the subject and verb would be trabajan ustedes los sábados. You raise the inflection of your voice at the end, pitch kind of goes up, and then you're asking work you the Saturdays, so just switching the subject and the verb. So with this sentence, you could actually also take the ustedes and you can move it to the end, so you could say trabajan los sábados ustedes, and both of those would be perfectly accurate. An example for number two, where you add no or verdad to the end, would be te gusta comer, verdad? With this type of question, you don't raise your voice, you just make the statement and then you ask true or no or cierto, something like that on the end to have it say you like to eat, right? And then the last type of question using a question word, that's pretty self-explanatory. You just have to make sure that you memorize the question words, such as where, donde, from where, de donde, and don't forget that each of them has an accent in the question word. And you got to start with an upside down question mark. Alright, today we're also going to go over numbers above 29 or 30. I guess you know up to 30, so we're going to go over numbers above 31. So I would suggest that you look in the textbook on section 2.4 because it has all the numbers and you need to just memorize those numbers. But basically it's pretty simple for the most part. You take like 30, 40, 50, 60, you take the number and then you just say and 1. So a 20 is 20, and then you say 21, which is 20 and 1, but the 20 and the E combines to be 21. It all becomes one word. Numbers after 20 don't do that. They stay separate, but the principle is the same. So 30 would be 30, 40 would be 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. And so with each one of these, you just say 30, and then you say and 1, 30 and 2, 30 and 3, 30 and 4, 30 and 5, etc. So 37 or 36 would be 36. 37 would be 37. And it just continues on from there. So a little bit after that, 100 and beyond are a little bit trickier. 99 is 90 y 9, 90 and 9. 100 is 100. So the number 100 is 100. But then if you have 101, it becomes ciento. So if you just say 100, you say 100. If you say 101, you'd say 101, 102, 103, and continuing on. So just 100 is 100. Everything after that, 100 becomes ciento. And if you're talking about 100 whatever, then it becomes cientos. For 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, there are separate words that you have to memorize. So 100 is cien, 200 is doscientos, 300 is trescientos, 400 is cuatrocientos. And so you can kind of see a pattern emerging here, just 2 and then 100, 3 and then 100, 4 and then 100. But then there are a few that are weird. So 500 is not cinco cientos like you would expect, but it's quinientos. 600 is standard, seis cientos. 700 is different. It's not siete cientos. It is sete cientos. Make sure that you pay attention to that. That is not siete, but sete cientos. 800 is just standard, ocho cientos. 900 is also different. It's not nueve cientos, it's nove cientos. Alright, so pay attention to 900, 700, and then 500. They don't follow the standard rule. Alright, 1,000 is mil. 2,000 would be dos mil. 3,000 would be tres mil. Cinco mil. And continuing on. 100,000 would be cien mil. 100,000. But then 1 million is millón. So 1 million is millón, and then 2 million would be dos millones. So you take off the accent and you add es. Notice that with 1,000 you don't say miles, but it's just mil. But with million, you have 1 million millón, and then more than 1 million would be millones. And it's not million, but just millón. There's no I. Alright, as you've learned before, if you have a 1 followed by a noun, the 1 has to match the gender. So if it's masculine, uno becomes un, and if it's feminine, then uno would become una. So if you said there are 31 boys, you'd say I, which means there is or there are. 30 y normally would be uno. So 31 chicos. However, chicos is masculine, and it follows 1. So we're going to take off the O, and it's going to be hay 31 chicos. If you said there are 101, let's say 121 pens, you would say hay ciento. Okay, I think I said 21. We're going to change it to 141. So there are 141 pens. So hay 140 y una plumas. There are 141 pens. The uno becomes una because it's followed by the plumas. Okay, so going along with this topic, the numbers 200 through 900, the hundreds is also going to change masculine or feminine. And so 200 would be doscientos. If you're talking about something feminine, it'd be doscientas. So we said there are 141 pens. If we say there are 251 pens, we're going to say hay doscientos. Okay, but we're talking about pens, plumas, which is feminine, so we have to change doscientos to doscientas. So hay doscientas. Did I say 51 pens? So it's going to be 50 y una. So you're going to change una, and you're going to change you're going to change uno to una and 200 to 200 plumas. So there are 200, make sure you get that A, because you're talking about feminine pens. So there are 251, don't forget the A, plumas. So I'm going to give you some practice on writing numbers, and then after we do this, then there'll be a few more sentences practicing questions and answering that with numbers, and just a general review. So anyway, first I'm going to give you a number. I want you to pause the video, write the number in Spanish, and then check your answer. So the first number is, I want you to say 374. So 374, 300 is 300. 70 is 70, and then we say and 4, which would be y cuatro. So 374 would be 374. The next one is going to be 791. Okay, 700 is 700. 90 is 90. And 1 would be y uno. Okay, this next one is going to be a little bit harder. We're going to say 4,952. So 4,000 would be 4,000. 900 would be 900. 52 would be 52. Okay, I put commas here. You don't need to do that, and I don't know if you're supposed to, but I did that to help you kind of see the different parts there. This next number is a little bit harder, but again, you just string them all together. So we're going to do 574,000. 574,628. So 500 is 500. 74 would be 70 y cuatro. Okay, so 574, and then we need to say 1,000. 600 is 600. 28. Remember that the 20s are all one word, so 28. And again, I don't think that you need to have that comma. And finally, our last number is 8,737,561. So 8 million, it's going to be 8 millones. Millón has an accent, but when you make it millones, you take off that accent. So 8 millones, 737,000. So right now we have 8,737,000. 500 sesenta y uno. So 8,737,561. Okay, at this point, pause the video, translate these sentences. I will give you the answers in a couple of minutes, well, when you unpause the video, and then I want you to upload your paper to Moodle. Alright, so this is a question. We've got to start off with an upside down question mark. How many is either cuantos or cuantas. So we have to ask what we're asking about. We're talking about chairs, which is sillas, which is feminine. So we're going to say cuantas. Got to get that A because we're talking about sillas. This is a question word, so we got to get our accent. So cuantas sillas. Next we're going to do are there. The word for there is or there are would be I. And then in the stadium would be en el estadio. So how many chairs are there in the stadium? We're going to answer that. We're going to say there are 7,944,751 chairs. So there are would be I. And then 7 million would be 7 millones. 944,000 would be 900. Okay, we've got to change it to cientas because we're talking about chairs. Right? Normally it's 900, but we got to change it to 900 because we're talking about something feminine. So 944,000. Okay, so we have there are 7,944,000. And we got to say 751 chairs. So with 700, we got to match that so it's feminine. And then with the 1, we're going to make that feminine because again we're talking about sillas, which is feminine, which are feminine. So 44,000. 700. Make sure that's an A. You don't put the accent on the A, but I just do that to emphasize that it's an A. It should be 700. 51 sillas. Okay, next question. When is the class? It's a question. So we're going to start with an upside down question mark. Then we're going to say a qué hora, at what hour, es la clase. Okay, so at what hour is the clase? What time is the class? I think you can also say cuándo es la clase, because cuándo means when, but you can definitely say a qué hora es la clase. The next one, the class is at 12:25. The class would be la clase es, so the class is, at is a, and then with time, don't forget that you always have la or las in front of actual time. So la clase es a las 12:25. Remember that time always has las Please don't ever forget that. Repeat to yourself. Time always has la or las in front of it. If you're telling the time, then it's either es la or son las. But we're not telling the time here, we're saying it is at the 12:25. So who is the teacher? So the question, start with an upside down question mark. Who is quién? It's a question word, so get your accent on there. So quién es, who is, the teacher would be el profesor or el maestro. And then where is the teacher from? It's a question. Start with an upside down question mark. From where? We're not saying where is he right now, but from where. So we're going to say de donde. Get your accent on donde because it's a question word. So de donde es el profesor or el maestro. So from where is the professor? Last one. This is a statement which is followed by a question, which makes the whole statement a question. But we're actually, this is a little different. In Spanish, we're going to put the question mark before the right because that's the only part that's an actual question. So you like the class. What's doing the pleasing? The class is. Who is it pleasing to? It's pleasing to you. So we're going to say te gusta. Got one class, so it's going to be gusta, not gustan. We're going to use te because it's to you. So te gusta la clase. Then we're going to make it into a question by an upside down question mark and then saying verdad. You could also say cierto. And there are a couple other ones that you can use as well. Please upload this to Moodle.